Hey guys, before I let you guys see the start of the video, I just kind of wanted to say that I was supposed to do a lot more work on this video, and I wanted to showcase everything I talk about with actual clips showing in front of you, so you can see, so you can also see what I'm talking about and not just hear it, right? But yeah, unfortunately, I've ran out of time. I got a job and I just don't have any more time to do what I wanted to do at the start. So the first half is pretty decent when it comes to me explaining, and I'm on script and all that stuff. But the second half, I'll tell you guys when. That's when I have my job and I ran out of time, and you'll see how I just rush through the script. If I make a mistake, I don't care. I just go through it and I continue because I really had to finish it. It took me a fucking shit ton of hours to make this. But yeah, I hope the people that like to hear everything in full detail appreciate this, because this is really for them mostly. I feel like the first guide that I made was pretty good and it pretty much explained everything. But the thing is that it's pretty much, right? But it isn't really everything. I could have talked about way more things into detail. And that's what this video is for. Again, I'm going to timestamp everything. So, if you think you might have missed something and you want to hear everything, you can maybe skip to those important bits. I'm not sure yet. I might release the combo guide as well on this same video or in another one. I'm not sure if it's finished even. I don't remember. It's been a while since I recorded it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, and I don't know. That's about it. Have fun. You like to roam world versus world with power, style, and a touch of chaos? Then this spear scrapper build is your new best friend. High burst, good mobility, gyro and S elixir outplays, and all that with a spear? It's crazy fun. In this video, I'll show you the full setup for a power-focused scrapper that wrecks in solo and small-scale fights. We'll go over traits, gear stats, weapon combos, and how to play it smart when you're outnumbered, or up against a single strong opponent giving you a hard time on a meta roaming build, all in that order. Just so you know, this guide will be extremely detailed. I won't skip anything I can think of talking about. Even someone that has never played Guild Wars 2 before will know everything there is to know about this build and its playstyle. So, I will timestamp everything for you guys so you can skip straight ahead to the parts that interest you the most. If you have any questions, you can message me privately on Discord, which is shy._, or leave a comment below and I will have answered your question within a day, or you can catch me play this build live on twitch.tv/shygw2 and ask me anything, or just lurk, or if I'm not live, watch a VOD to see how I play it all raw. And feel free to leave a comment for a question in the stream as well if you want to. If you guys just want the building and are not interested in watching the whole thing, I've got an exact build link in the description below. I hope you guys enjoy this build as much as I do, as I'm in love with it. I'm very in love with it. Another thing you guys should know is that this video is only part 1 of the guide, which is completely free. Brought to you guys thanks to Nade's request for me to make a new and improved spear scrapper guide. However, there will be a part 2 explaining how to win the spear untamed matchup, for example. Then a part 3 on how to win the DP thief matchup, and so forth, until I've gone through every matchup and how to win each of them, if possible. Those videos will only be available on the guild from Nade, specially made for his members and patrons over there. Now, let's start with the trade lines and why I picked each trade over the other options. For trade lines, we will be running explosives, alchemy, and scrapper. Now, I will explain why you need to run each trade in these trade lines and how you get the most use out of every trade for the maximum potential. Alright, so for the trade lines, we go explosives, we go alchemy, and scrapper. Now I'll explain to you guys why to run each trade in these trade lines and how to get the most use out of every trade for maximum potential. First, we start with explosive entrance. When you have it ready as one of your buffs, explosive entrance will hit your enemy, usually with like a 2k crit, counts as an explosion, can trigger other traits in the line that I will explain to you guys very soon, and refreshes after every dodge, which is why having a lot of vigor uptime or dodge food is very nice to proc explosive entrance as much as possible. You rely on this trait a lot for both a percentage of your total damage dealt in a fight, but you also rely heavily on this trait to stay alive, which again I will explain as soon with the following traits in line. A tip here is if you mount up, you lose the buff proc even after dismounting. So right after you dismount, you will have to dodge at least once if you want to make sure to proc explosive entrance at the start on your target. Next up is Grenadier. The only reason we pick up this trait is for the 100% increased velocity that it gives you to the grenades that you throw. Without it, it's very hard to hit your opponents from range, especially when they are kiting away from you. You only stand right on top of them, which is like practically in melee range, then it becomes possible. Everything else is just a bonus, as it also increases the explosion radius of your nades by 60, and when you use a heal skill, it will throw out 6 nades in a circle around you, potentially hitting close bystanders for a bit of damage. The other traits are no option for us. Unless you like to suffer, you need that trait velocity no matter what. Even though the other traits would be nice to use and are viable on their own, there's not really a choice here, as long as you are using a nade kit. Then we also have Steel-Packed Powder. It makes it so every skill with an explosion designation will apply 1 stack of vulnerability to the targets you hit with them. And then we also have Shaped Charge, which will increase the damage they take by 0.5% for every vulnerability stack they have on them. So 1 stack of Vern, which increases damage taken by 1%, now becomes 1.5%. And 25 stacks of Vern, which increases damage by 25%, now becomes 37.5%. Increased damage taken from both strike and even CONDI damage. A list of skills and traits with explosion in them are as followed. Lesser Grenade Barrage, and of course also Grenade Barrage itself. We also have Aim Assisted Rocket, which we don't really use, but it's still worth mentioning. Then the second part of Spear 3, called Electric Artillery, and Spear 5, called Devastator, and every single grenade skill in your grenade kit. That includes also the auto attacks that you can freely spam. Then we have Blast Shield. It's insanely strong for sustain. It gives me about 2.2k HP because it's scaling based off of 10% of my power, and every explosive entrance proc, which you get every time after dodging, gets you a 350-ish barrier that will soak damage for you. The 350 barrier might not seem like a lot for a single proc, but over the duration of a 2-minute fight, for example, you will have a dodge plenty of times, giving you, for example, a total of 3,500 barrier just for having dodged 10 times in that fight. For the other 2 traits, they're okay, just not as good for an up-close melee brawling build. I've tested damage numbers with and without max stacks of explosive temper, and honestly I don't even see much of a difference. Even if you had way more base crit damage, the difference of damage is barely noticeable to me. And if you are full Zerg anyways, I think, for example, Aim Assisted Rocket would be a better option. Every so often you launch the rocket, it can miss from time to time, but about after 4 rockets you get a huge AoE orbital strike, which also is a blast and an unblockable, but it really only works well against stationary targets that happen to be CC'd already or some way or another, or simply just don't move nor dodge the strike. But if it does hit fairly hard. The last trait we will go in explosive trait line is Flashbang. The main reason we pick this is that for every explosive entrance we hit on the enemy, so after every dodge basically, we get to blind our opponent, which is very powerful and serves for nearly half of your survivability, dodging a skill into blinding the next one. The Daze against foes above 90% health is just a bonus and can be useful to interrupt your opponent's engage, which is usually a burst. Next for Alchemy, we got Hidden Flask. Drink Elixir lesser. Next for Alchemy, we got Hidden Flask. Drink a lesser version of Elixir B when struck under 75% of your max HP. Nothing too special, it's neat. Then we got Invigorating Speed. Every 10 seconds you can get 8 seconds of vigor if you give yourself some swiftness or super speed, which happens very often. Very useful to dodge more often and therefore spam explosive entrance more often. That and your F1 or Elixir H are pretty much your only sources of vigor. For protection injection, well, it's good. This cooldown is better than that on the Guardian's version of this trait, and the protection duration is good too with our boon duration, but being able to have perma vigor is just way better. Defensively, but also offensively because of the explosive straight line. While the protection is for when you get CC'd, which you want to avoid happening in the first place, it's a better choice if you were to play a build with only a single stun break and nearly have 0 stability, but we have 2 stun breaks and good stab, uptime, etc. Then for health insurance, 99% of the time this is used for support heal scrapper builds, but occasionally I know someone that plays it for the increased incoming healing to themselves together with medkit. I'm not personally a fan of using this. In general, also not a fan of using many kits on Engie, as you lose time by swapping through everything. And in my honest opinion, Elixir H with Alchemy is just much better of a heal if you have some boon duration. About 20% is a solid amount. Transmute. Drink a lesser Elixir C after using a heal skill, which is very strong in my opinion. If I'm against a class with a lot of immob spam, and I am immobed, I like to use my heal to convert the immob into resistance. Even if I'm nearly half HP or full HP, this lets you avoid face tanking a CONDI bomb or power burst in the first place. There's a list of all the CONDIs in which the boons will turn into after conversion. I will leave a link for this in the description if you want to have a personal and more detailed look at it. Next is Boiling Point. We don't really have a choice here. It's our only way of getting Fury. If you ever find another way of getting Fury, you can go either of these two. They're about the same, but if you feel like you're more often in Grenade Kit than not, then I recommend going this one. Then for the compounding chemicals, it's super nice. It gives us about 5% increased boon duration, and it's one of the 2 reasons why we need to spend less stats on boon duration, kinetic accelerators being the other one. Then for every Condi we heal, which happens on using an Elixir skill, including the F skills here by the way, we heal about 40 HP. But that also means, for example, 5 sacks of Torment counts as 5 Condis, so you cleanse 1 condition, you heal 5 times 40, which is about 200 HP healed. In the long run, this is a huge amount of sustain for you. Then next up we have HGH, which is human growth hormone according to the wiki, gives us about 20% boon duration increase on our Elixir skills. I don't know if this is before or after the boon duration that we already have. It doesn't really matter, it's still our better option. And on top of that, every single Elixir skill that we have and that we use gives us 3 might for nearly or about 13 seconds, which is very nice. For the last trade line, Scrapper, we got Function Gyro. It replaces the F5 skill, which normally would be mid-pack drop here, but that's okay. F5 Gyro is way better. With Function Gyro, we can give ourselves a couple buffs and a blast finisher, which comes from our traits that I will talk about later. But even without the traits, this Gyro is instantly useful to stomp targets for you while you're kiting or while you're cleaving, etc. You can even stomp multiple people at the same time, as long as they're not stealthed, and all in that AoE circle. Another insanely useful thing about Function Gyro is that it can also be used to res allies. For example, what I do when someone is about to go down, I keep it until they go down, instantly use it on them, then Elixir S myself so that I do not get CC'd or cleaved down while I'm resing, together with my Gyro, and it reses them insanely fast. Really fast. Note that by default, Function Gyro is also a lightning field. the next trait for Scrapper is Mass Momentum. We don't use any well skills, so that's out of the question. And even if we did, the super speed is way too short anyways. Daze on F5 can be useful, and the bear as well on Daze, but momentum is just so much better because then we get might while we have stability. And it also gives us might on our Gyro. Very important. Next up is Speed of Synergy. We get a nice amount of super speed on our heal and our F1 on top of the super speed on our Elixir U. Super useful and a large part of our mobility, and also kind of the reason why we don't use Speed Relic, but Reverse Relic instead, which I will talk about later. Next up, we got Expert Examination, which gives us protection when we use the Gyro on top of ourselves. Can also be given to our allies, by the way. Other than that, there is Object in Motion. It's nice if you have Swiftness, Super Speed, Stab. You do a bit of extra damage, but that is not really necessary. The sustain from protection is better. And then again, Rapid Regeneration. It gives us, you know, another form of regen, but I'd rather just not take the damage in the first place, thanks to protection, reducing that damage by 33%, right? And if we have that perma, that's really fucking good. Impact Savant on a power build like ours is insanely good. For a few seconds, we get 15% of all the damage we just dealt as barrier. This again gives us insane sustain in outnumbered fights where our nades hits everyone, which will easily give us up to 4 to 5k barrier, which will protect us from burst, strike DPM, and CONDI dots all at the same time before our effective health pool takes damage. Barrier uptime is easy as long as you constantly strike an enemy with strike damage, so CONDIs don't count. Just so you know, since recent barrier nerfs, we cannot get more than a quarter of our max HP as barrier. That's the barrier limit. A nice little tip is, you can hit a white named critter, since the damage they take is 1000-fold. You instantly get max barrier from a single hit, which is super useful trick I picked up recently while I was getting chased by 5 or 6 people. And for our final trait, Kinetic Accelerators, which I've shown you guys already a couple times, and as I said earlier, this got a hard nerf twice in a row over the most recent 2 patches. But thankfully it didn't affect the most important part of the trait, which is the concentration based off of 10% of our current power. This trait alone gives us 16 to 17% boon duration. 46.7 without the trait, 62.5% with the trait. Before 2 nerfs ago, it also used to give us Fury, and since before last patch, it would give us and our allies 3 might instead of 2 might when leaping through or blasting anything, which is the second useful part of this trait. This trait also gives our function Gyro a blast finisher on cast. The blast finisher always happens a split second after placing down the Gyro, giving us one of our 3 sources of swiftness if used on top of ourselves, as it blasts the lightning field. The other 2 sources comes from blasting the lightning field with Spear 5 or using the Elixir H heal, which is only about 7 seconds, as you can see here, but rotating the 2 blasts alone is enough to get this perma swiftness without Elixir H's swiftness. Phew, it was a long, insanely long, in-depth trait explanation, holy hell. Now we can finally move on to gear. For stats, you want to have Marauder armor with Firework runes in them to help with the boon duration, giving us 25% of it, while also not neglecting our power. Still, having nearly 2400 power is a good base for when you don't have any might. Because maybe you got boon ripped by a Spawn Shivers, or a Curse Reaper, or a Spellbreaker, or a Thief, etc. Then, got a Marauder weapons with Spear, with Energy and Cleansing Sigil. The extra dodge every 9 seconds with Energy Sigil is too good thanks to the entire explosive straight line that I mentioned earlier. And Cleansing Sigil is a must in this day and age. You can't play without it, as everyone and their mothers play Sele or Condi nowadays. And even against power builds like Reaper, Thief, etc., you want to be able to remove Condis like Permachill, Blind, Weakness, etc. Or even against power classes like Elementalists or builds like our own, they have a lot of might upkeep and weapons with a lot of damaging Condis on them. And all that might makes for a lot of Condi damage stats that you will have to want to cleanse, or else you'll be stuck with 1 or 2,000 burn takes and other damaging CONDIs on you. Take too much damage and die. Now for trinkets, you have the backpack and the rings, which are demolisher stats to help you stack with a bit of armor, and the amulets and the earrings are commander stats to help you give the extra needed concentration and armor. Thanks to that and silly food, Spearfied Peppercorn Spice Oyster Soup, and the Karka Toughness Potion, you get over 2600 armor and 60% boon duration, and you take 10% reduced strike damage, which, as far as I know, is separate for armor and protection, maybe, I'm not sure. Those two food and enhancements are best in slot buffs if you want the best of the best. The second choice for each would be Ascended Power Food with the minus 10% strike damage taken, which is too good of an option, by the way, to give up on for something else, though a third option for the food would be Dodge Food, which is this here, the bowl of orange truffle and meat stew. That would be the third best option. And then for the stones, instead of Karka Toughness Potion, you can go with the Sharpening Stones. Potent, superior sharpening stones. For the Relic, you can use anything you want, but I have to say River's Relic is the best one by far. I've tried many other ones. This is just the best one. Just imagine every 2 dodges, you get about like 3 seconds of Alak with all that regen on top of it as well. And being able to get your weapon skills and utility skills just 2 seconds faster, or how many seconds that might be, is just so fucking good. I swear to God. I have played on an alt without River's Relic, and every time I end up just dying because I just had to wait a second longer on a specific skill that I needed for damage or for sustain, survivability, etc. So River's Relic is your best option by far, but feel free to use anything else if you don't like it. Now for the weapon skills and utilities, from left to right, we start off with the weapon skills. The Spear 1 auto attack chain is very meh on Spear, not really worth using unless you have nothing else left to use to finish off a low HP target. A couple times on purpose I've used this to finish off low HP targets when I actually had my weapon skills ready, just to test it a bit, and they just managed to re-sustain or out-sustain the DPS of the chain autos of Spear 1. So don't use this, use Grenade Kit 1 if that's all you have left. It's a much better auto attack spammer than Spear 1. Spear 2 Conduit Surge, a low cooldown and short range leap skill. The strike and CONDI damage on both are decent, especially if your target is focused already from the last strike. Always try to engage with this trait to get that focus buff up as soon as possible and start doing more burst damage from the get-go, as it empowers itself and the other 3 skills. Sometimes, as a tip for my combo section, is that I like to do F5 gyro on myself and on the enemy at the same time, which will daze enemy with the flashbang trait, by the way, and then I use Spear 2 as a leap finisher to my target, which will daze them again, as your leap finisher happens inside a lightning field. Spear 3, Lightning Rod and Electric Artillery. When I dismount to engage someone, or at the start of every fight in general, the first thing I'll always do is use my Spear 3. Purely to prepare for the immobilize on the second skill on Spear 3, Electric Artillery. By the time I've completed my engage combo, I get to throw out my immob on them and then burst them with Grenade Barrage or any other burst I have not used yet. It's also useful to have if the first thing they do is run away or try to kite you someplace. The Spear 3 is a very obvious skill and easy to dodge as long as you look at the caster, but a lot of people haven't played much, if at all, against a Spear Engie and have no clue what that animation means and end up getting caught in it anyways. And even against players that are familiar with the matchup, the way you engage very aggressively at the start usually forces them to double dodge already and won't have a dodge left for the immob. Again, you want to make sure your target is already focused for the extra spike and CONDI damage you get out of it, and as a bonus, for every lightning rod tick you've had on your target, your Spear 3 will apply more burn duration. You're a power build, but again, this build gets a lot of might uptime, which gives you CONDI damage as a stat, and burning is also the highest damaging CONDI in the game. 25 stacks of might gets me around 850 CONDI damage, and with that, I easily get 2k burn ticks or even more on my opponent, catching them completely off guard. Though I have to say the stacks aren't very important, and it's better to preserve your health when you can. Don't lose all your HP just to stack some of those charges. Just see it as a passive bonus. For lightning rod itself as a skill, it's kind of whatever. Another trick I will tell you guys later is that I like to use spear tree for AoE ticks around me, and then I use Elixir S before I am about to get bursted by something like a spear virtuoso or something like that. And then I will walk right next to them to hurt them a little bit with the lightning rod ticks, while also giving me charges. Against the target without armor, I tend to crit for like 500 or something per tick. 500 times 8 is 4,000 damage while you are invulnerable. It's very cheesy, but I have been able to kill my targets a few times funnily enough with this skill. Alright guys, this is a few days after I've done most of the recording here for Spear 3 and all that stuff. I'm about to go and explain Spear 4. But I gotta say, I'm in a bit of a rush now because I got accepted for a job, so I'm not gonna have much time anymore to make this whole thing. And you know, I kind of did promise that I would have it finished by the end of the month of April. It's May 1st right now, so I'm gonna kind of rush through my script. I might do a lot of errors and mistakes and blah blah blah. Hopefully I get everything correct from the first try, but I doubt it. That's why I have a script in the first place. But yeah, I'll have to skip and skim through the script a lot. And yeah, I hope I don't miss anything for you guys. But I guess I'm not even halfway there in the script. So like it's at least like another 40 minutes of script, pretty much, of me talking. So I'm gonna rush through this, and yeah, hopefully all goes well. Alright, let's start with Spear 4, Rolling Skies. Besides our 90-second cooldown elite supply crate, it's our only hard CC. If not focused, you stun everyone in front of you for only 1 second with a stun. But if you hit a focus target with it, you CC them for 2 seconds with a 40 range launch. Instead, 40 range is nothing, but it might as well just be a knockdown. But yeah, you know. If you hit them with it while they have stab, you still apply like a 5-second cripple, which is whatever. It can be useful, can help you to get rid of a stack of stability, or they might waste a cleanse to get rid of the cripple. They made it so it's a little bit easier to hit, but it's still pretty hard. Like if you look at it's like a cone shape. And if they are really close to you, there's a big chance that you miss. So don't go off of the targeting. You really need to point with your actual character to aim this skill. It's much better that way. This will hopefully help you guys to aim this thing. I tend to use Spear 4 in a combo with the Immobilize from Electric Artillery, and then burst my target. So basically I either immob and Spear 3, or CC with Spear 4 and then immob. And then that means that even if they have a stun break, they still have to cleanse the immobilize, or even if they cleanse the stun break, the immob, then well, you know, they still have to stun break, you know, etc. And that is assuming they can, if it's not a cast skill, right? That means we can be unlucky though and be against a ranger or revenant. They have a stun break that is also dodge roll backwards, that also at the same time removes immobilizes and other movement impairing skills or conditions. So yeah, not super useful against those two classes and maybe other classes that have those kind of skills. But yeah, just so you know. But assuming they cannot stun break or cleanse it all at the same time, it's a perfect setup for a big burst like Spear 5 and then Grenade Barrage. Usually I have at least one of them off cooldown to burst my target with after one of the other 2 CC skills. Anyways, now up to Spear 5. Devastator, a very good skill. Does a good amount of strike damage, about 5,000 when I crit, and a solid amount of burning CONDI burst right after you hit Spear 2. It's a 600 mobility skill with a 1 second evade frame and a blast. Remember that you preferably want to use this inside any field, like your F5 Gyro, to stack up some might from kinetic accelerators for the trade in Scrapper. The AoE that it has is really nice too, and as you can see below, if your target is focused, it does quite a bit of extra bit of damage. But if you don't have your target focused, it's fine. You can still use this. The extra damage is just a bonus. You don't miss out on a huge amount of damage if you use this on a non-focused target, but it is preferably to do so with every single skill, as you already know by now. I like to use Spear 5 on top of myself when I know, like, for example, a Thief or Revenant will port on me, or any other class with a port, like Thief on Steel, for example, right? Thief with Steel, sorry, or any other skill, blah, blah, blah. Since it's an evade, it's hard to interrupt this skill, but it's not impossible, sadly for us. The evade frame ends about a split second before you hit the ground and do any damage yet. I've gone on CC'd a ton before at the very, very end of the skill animation like that, always by chance. It's a lot like Bull's Charge on Warrior. It's an evade frame for most of the cast, but at the very end, a skill thief can use Steel to interrupt it. Usually I've gone on CC'd by sitting on top of a Harbinger Shroud 5, for example. If you play this weapon long enough, you'll eventually have that happen to you as well. I promise that. Another weakness about Spear 5 is if the enemy you want to hit is very mobile, like super speed, loss of swiftness, blah blah blah, you might miss now and then. Since it takes an entire second before you hit the ground, and you are likely to miss someone with a lot of swiftness, super speed, or dashes, and at the same time are moving towards unpredictable directions, like every often my opponent is kiting away from me, so I lead my Spear 5 a little over them, you know, ahead of them, and then just when I'm midair, they start running back towards me and I completely miss them because I go way over them. That's all for the weapon skills. Now for the utilities. Alright, we got Elixir H and we have Throw Elixir H, or Toss Elixir H rather. As long as you run Alchemy and some boon duration like we are, this is really the best in slot healing skill for us. And as I said before, Vigor on F1 and a short amount of swiftness on the heal. The amount of healing on Elixir H is not amazing compared to some other people that get 8k healing, but the regen does help a little bit with that as well. And then on top of the aforementioned boons like protection to reduce our damage taken in the first place, does, you know, it's pretty good. It's fine having that lower HP healing. It's normal. All that in a 20-second cooldown as well for both of the H skills. Now the next, that's a pretty big one here, is Grenade Kit. Boom. Sadly, it takes a utility slot instead of a weapon slot. It counts for a weapon swap, so it will proc your sigils when off cooldown. The only single advantage to this is that you can swap from Spear to Nade Kit to do a quick poison to reduce their healing by 33%, or maybe a chill, blind, or a quick burst with shrapnel grenades, and then you can go right back to your Spear. It's only a 1 second cooldown to swap to them, but also takes a few milliseconds to just press the key and swap and see which skills are off cooldown, etc. in the first place. So I'd rather just spam every nade I have up and then for some bursting and then swap back to Spear. If you can, I advise holding your poison nades if you are against a class with blocks like Shield on Ref or Staff on Warrior, or Shield on Warrior as well. So hold your poison nades for when they are casting block, as poison nades are your only unblockable offensive skill. So you hit them with it while they think they are safely blocking everything you have, while also reducing some of the healing they might do right after that. Assuming they don't cleanse it first, of course. I believe that the warrior heal called Mending cleanses 5 CONDIs before it heals, so not very useful against those kind of heals. I might be wrong about that, but that's what I think. As for the freeze and shrapnel nades, freeze here and shrapnel nades here, you want to use them whenever you can. The chill from freeze will delay important cooldowns for a bit and even fuck up important rotations by doing so if they don't cleanse it. And remember, for freeze nades, it's 2 seconds of chill for every single nade you hit, so it goes up to 6 seconds here. Shrapnel nade is a good small burst and only a 5-second cooldown. So every 5 to 6 seconds, you can swap from Spear back to nades just to throw a quick shrapnel nade for fuller damage. Flash grenade does barely any damage. So just use it for the blind. As I said earlier, I tend to just use all my nades that are off cooldown once before going to spear again. So usually I use flash nades in between my other nades, like tack, 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 if they are off cooldown, right? So usually I use flash nades in between my other nades or at the start or ending of it. Yeah, you can also use it at the start of ending of it. But if you are smart, if you are a master at switching between kits and weapons, kind of like Sukaya is, I would say, I advise just only using the 1 or 2 nades that you see fit for the scenario. The second nade only specifically just because you need to wait for that 1 second cooldown anyways. And then like a quick freeze nade into shrapnel, and then maybe a quick blind with a flash nades, swapping to spear again. And then whilst keeping your poison nades for what I mentioned earlier. That is, the poison nade is very important to keep because I tend to use it for damage, and then right after that they cleanse it and then they start blocking. I was like, oh man, I wish I had my fucking unblockable grenade, poison grenades, you know? But yeah. For the grenade auto attacks, they are good filler damage, and if you are accurate enough, it's way better damage per minute than the spear auto attacks and has good range pressure too. Usually even forcing a dodge out of your opponent. It's also useful for stacking up vulnerability on your targets without having to waste other skills if you're trying to save them for something else. Then we have Grenade Barrage, which thankfully doesn't need us to swap to Grenade Kit to use it in the first place or whatever, but it's our biggest burst together with Spear 5. If you have 25 might against a single target, you can hit for up to 8k, 10k, maybe even more damage if all 6 grenade hit and crits. But obviously every nade has a small AoE, so you can hit multiple targets with it. Grenade Kit 2, 3, 4, and 5 can hit up to 3 targets. While Grenade Barrage and your nade autos can hit up to 5. Then moving on to Elixir U. It's usually the first stunbreak that I use when I get CC'd, and I always try to keep it for a stunbreak only, but since it's only a 25-second cooldown, and I have Elixir S as backup anyways, and then River's Relic that brings it down faster, etc., I sometimes tend to use the quickness and the 3 might that gives to burst down and finish off my targets quickly if I deem necessary. The 2 stacks of stab for 7 seconds make sure I won't get interrupted while I'm trying to burst someone, unless it gets corrupted or they somehow manage to do 3 CCs in a quick succession. If I get CC'd and I use this as my first sunbreak, I've noticed the enemy usually comes up close to me to burst me, right? And they might not expect the stunbreak, which is when I counter burst them with the quickness and the nade spam. Toss Elixir U isn't super useful. A nice extra bit of super speed to escape or chase someone, or I use it to reposition myself and prepare for a burst, as it gives me 3 might for 12 seconds. Since it's an elixir skill, I also use it to cleanse CONDIs. One second. I lost the thing. I had to cleanse CONDIs of myself to the compounding chemicals trade. So if I know I'm against Cellular or CONDI, I keep it for that. Then next is Elixir S and Toss Elixir S. A skill I've always come to like a whole lot, and I underestimated heavily before I started using it, and I have come to love it. For a brawling melee build like this, one with spear, the stun break into instant invulnerability is just insanely valuable. Also, very useful when you have 10 CONDIs on you and you can cleanse them immediately. This will let you some of the cooldowns, some of the CONDIs stick and run out while they do no damage to you. If you know a vert is gonna F1 burst you, or spear Willbender is even coming at you, and you know the burst is coming, right? But you don't have a dodge left to avoid it, Elixir S will save your ass, while they wasted their whole burst and imported cooldowns doing so. Since you use HGH, the invern duration also lasts a bit longer than people expect, wasting bursts or CCs before you leave your invern. And if they guess correctly, you need to make sure you dodge at least just once mid-frame as you are about to leave the invern. Since entering and leaving Elixir S counts as swapping weapons, you usually get a new endurance charge or cleanse a condition on entering or leaving it, assuming it's not already on cooldown, of course. When I down someone in a 1vx, and it's a class without a port or stealth, or they have already used those skills, I tend to immediately use Elixir S and then stomp finisher them to get them permanently out of the fight. turning a tough 1v4 into a manageable 1v3 or a doable 1v3 into an easy 1v2. I use this over the F5 gyro because the gyro can still get destroyed by any CC or randomly through AoE, cleave, etc. However, I can be, as I'm perfectly invulnerable. However, I cannot be CC'd or cleave as I'm perfectly invulnerable from anything while I stomp. You can press start. You can start a stomp animation before or after using Elixir S. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you are as close as possible to the target when you go invern and start it as soon as possible, because it usually ends, Elixir S usually ends right after you finish stomping, and the longer you wait, the more people might res the target back up before you are even able to finish the stomping animation in the first place, making you waste Elixir S without bringing down their numbers at all. As I said before, with Lightning Rod on Spear 3, if you can tell someone is about to burst you before going Elixir S, I use Spear 3 real quick if it's not already on cooldown, which lets me then do free damage while I'm walking on top of them invulnerable with Elixir S, and it lets you get some electric artillery procs ready, and gets you, the the lightning rod procs, and then electric artillery will be ready by the time you come out of it. Another trick is Another trick is using Toss Elixir U, right? And then Toss Elixir... Toss Elixir U and then Toss Elixir H, for example, on myself to give me super speed before going invern. That way you can gain some extra distance from your enemies while you're kiting while being invern. So super speed while you're inverting Elixir S, pretty much. It's pretty nice. The biggest weakness of Elixir S is that if you have crippled, chill, or even immobilize on you, and it doesn't get cleansed by the sigil because it was already off cooldown or something, and a single cleanse that it can do from your traits might not actually cleanse the cripple, chill, or the immob, then you're a little bit fucked when it comes to mobility, because it will still affect you, even in your Elixir S invulnerability. So with any of those skills stuck on you, you'll have a hard time kiting or running away. Or chasing, if that's what you want to do. Toss Elixir S is a useful and nearly 4-second AoE stealth skill. So not just for yourself, but also useful to save a friend. I like to run right on top of them and then toss it on top of both of us to grant us both stealth, either to escape or maybe stealth gank someone, who knows. Alone, I use it to stall for my cooldowns and reposition myself. To reposition yourself even better, I like to use Elixir U before I stealth, so I can move in even more unexpected ways with super speed. Using both of these together also gets you 6 might. On top of the other things that give you might, it's useful to prepare for bursts out of stealth. Don't use Spear 3 Lightning Rod before stealthing, as it might reveal you if someone is too close to you. Otherwise, it's fine. Elixir S and the Toss skill for it are both long cooldowns, 60 seconds and 45 seconds each. But River's Relic will make sure you get them both back a little bit sooner. I've already explained everything about the F5 function gyro in the traits. So lastly, we have Supply Crate. For Supply Crate, it's a blast finisher and CC skill that you can drop anywhere within 1200 range and within line of sight on top of anyone, dropping 3 turrets after impact on the ground where you choose to drop it. And then the impact itself will stun your target for 2.5 seconds. The turrets that are dropped will last about 60 seconds unless destroyed. The turrets dropped are as follows, and important to know, very important really. A healing turret with a water field drops if and only if you are, or any other allies, are close enough. The healing turret will heal you for 4 to 5k HP and another 1k per blast or leap inside its water field. The second turret is a flame turret with a smoke field only, and I repeat, the smoke field will appear only if any enemy is close enough to it. No enemy is no smoke field. The third turret is a net turret, which will shoot an electrified net after a short 1 or 2 second delay towards the closest enemy, which will immobilize and daze them. The daze is about 2.5 seconds and the immob is 3. which extends the CC even after a quick stun break or the initial crate stun, giving you lots of time to burst them. Sometimes you might drop the supply crate on a stealthed enemy and CC them in stealth, and as they get out of stealth, the net turret will shoot them right after they get out of stealth. This all happens once as long as the turrets are overcharged. As long as the turrets are not destroyed, the water field will last about 3 to 4 seconds and the smoke field will last about 8 to 10 seconds. The two fields, the water and the smoke field, overlap each other, with the water field taking priority over the smoke field if you blast or leap through it. To only blast the smoke field, you either wait for a second for the water field to go away, or sometimes you can find a corner where the water field isn't on top overlapping the smoke field, and then you can quickly blast that part alone. Note that these turrets can get destroyed rather quickly, even by accident sometimes, and once a flame turret is destroyed, you will only have 2 very short seconds to blast or leap through the smoke field before it dissipates. I usually tend to go for the stealth as it's much more valuable than the extra 1k heal from blasting the water field. After having used supply crate, you get access to detonate supply crate turrets, which I will drop here real quick. Boom. Like this. Sadly, it has a 90-second cooldown on it. Wrong read there. You get the detonate supply crate turrets, which is not have a cast, by the way, so you can use it even when you are CC'd or while using another skill. The actual blast finisher itself happens on yourself, not the turrets, on yourself, while the detonation damage happens around the turrets, from what I've gathered. I like to blast the smoke screen with Spear 5 first, in case they try to CC me to prevent me from going into stealth. And then Spear 2 out of it right after detonating the turrets, which will be 3 finishers for a total of 9 seconds of stealth. Big warning though, if your target is focused and you hit them with Spear 5 while you try to stealth, right? So you're not, so kind of like a Heart Seeker from a Thief, Smoke Field Heart Seeker. Well, Spear 5, again, if they're focused, it will reveal you instantly because of the focused devastation there below, which hits your target a couple times after you hit them. So make sure you don't hit them with that by accident if you have them focused. If you don't have them focused, it will only be 1 hit and you should be fine, and it should be just like a Smoke Field Heartseeker Thief, you know. Then you do the detonate turrets, at the end at the exact same time as you Spear 5 away from any targets, as to not hit anything and reveal yourself by accident. Again, don't use Spear 3 lightning rod before stealthing, as it might reveal you if an enemy is close to you. I often do this by mistake, that's why I've repeated it 3 times by now. It's kind of a muscle memory though. Supply crate is very overpowered, but sadly it's a 90-second cooldown on it, which is a much longer cooldown compared to some other, and in my opinion, much more overpowered elite skills, like Harbinger's Elite's Elixir of Cope, as I call it, for example, which is only a 60-second cooldown. An Elementalist gets a 60-second cooldown on Tornado, and Elemental Celerity, which is the Kada Elite. Herald gets 35 and 40 seconds on their CC from Dragon and Assassin Elites. Strength of the Pack and One Wolf Pack are 60-second cooldown on Ranger, and Force Fortification starts at 90, but gets 1 cooldown removed for every single hit it does against any amount of enemies within 6 seconds. So a single longbow 5 barrage against multiple enemies can bring it down from 90 seconds to 40 seconds remaining, or even 0 if you do a lot of hits there, together with hammer and whatnot. Seconds of remaining cooldown, blah blah. Though that's a bit of a special case, so you know, but I've seen it happen. All right, that's about that. Now a quick last thing. Now for some tricks and combos. I've already given you guys a couple earlier while explaining the weapons, the utilities, and the traits. So I'll start with the ones I have not said yet. And for the people that skipped the previous segments to this part, just to know some combos, I will repeat the ones I've talked about earlier so they don't miss out. Now for the newer, not explained tricks and combos yet, for the biggest combo, usually after creating an enemy, if they are within range, I have all of the included skills ready. I do my Spear 3 immob into Spear 2 to make sure they are focused and for the extra damage. Into a Spear 4 re-CC, and then into a big Spear 5 and Grenade Barrage Burst. If you feel like they're about to break free, you can do Spear 4 for a re-CC anytime you want, either way, right now or later. If they are still alive, you can swap to Nade kit and spam Shrapnel Nade into Freezing Nade into Poison, and then anything else you might have up. Shrapnel is for the bigger damage, freeze to chill them, and possible delay on a stunbreak or a cleansing skill that is about to come off cooldown, as that usually happens to me. And the poison nades to make sure when they get free and try to panic heal, they will heal a bit less, while the poison is also ticking down on their health at the same time as the burning and the bleeding. That's a full combo I usually also do after hitting a supply crate on a perma CC'd enemy though. Trick I do after hitting my immob is dropping the F5 Gyro on them and then do Spear 2 to daze them. So they'll be mobilized and dazed at the same time, which again I explained earlier is worse than a plain stun. Then you can drop on top of them. A trick I do after hitting my immobilize is dropping F5 Gyro on them and then do Spear 2 to daze them. So they will be immobilized and dazed at the same time. That's worse than a plain stun, and then you can drop on top of them with a Spear 5 and Grenade Barrage, which usually one-shots most of them. You can also re-CC them after your Spear 5 with Spear 4 and then drop Grenade Barrage as well to give yourself more time. Usually, mid-fight, not all of these cooldowns sync up perfectly together and I only get to use half the skills to burst them. But usually, if I'm close to my target, I do Spear 3 immob into a close-up Grenade Barrage to make sure I don't miss anything. And then Spear 5 might come up just after I finish casting and I can add that to the mix. But if they are further away, I tend to use my Spear 5 on them to get closer first, and if it happens to be ready, I also use my Grenade Barrage right afterwards. And if they are a bit too far for me to hit with Spear 5, I use Spear 2 and then Spear 5. That's usually close enough to close the range and still hit them with Spear 5. If you don't have Spear 3, you can do the same with Spear 4 instead, obviously. A small tip, which I think is probably a waste of time, is that you can dodge somewhere in the middle or of your burst to renew explosive entrance and add that as extra damage, but honestly I feel like the time it takes to dodge is a waste of DPS or just overall damage that you could have done in that time frame, so I don't think it's worth it at all. But maybe I could be wrong. It's up to you to do what you prefer. If you have both stunbreaks on cooldown, even if you still have stab from F5 Gyro, I play as defensive as you can until you have either of your 2 stunbreaks back up. Use the stealth from Elixir S to stall for time while everything is on cooldown, and kite as much as you can without leaving combat while throwing some grenades behind you. If the enemy is approaching and you think he might CC you, it's nice to have a Spear 5 as your evasive tool rather than just an offensive one. Helpful if you don't have any endurance yet. If you're at the edge of the imaginary arena for your duels, you can use Spear 5 to hop over them safely on the other side. Then Spear 2 to dash away even further to gain more distance. Just make sure you don't have your enemy targeted or Spear 2 will bring you right back to them. I have it sometimes happen to me where I click away to unselect or deselect any target I might have and dash away with Spear 2. But even after 2-3 clicks, I still somehow have them targeted and I die over it. Sometimes I also accidentally enable auto-targeting as it's a toggle on my keyboard, but since it doesn't show if it's on or not, well, if you need help hitting your grenades, I do not recommend enabling snap on target, as it will aim nades dead center and will miss half the nades you spam as they move out of it by just walking and some swiftness. I recommend you just get used to the normal aiming, and please do not play with ground targeting called fast with range indicator. Here, I'll show it to you guys here real quick. Where is it? And now you can also see my settings if that's what you were curious about. All right, here, there you go. I have it set on instant. Do not play it with fast range indicator or normal. That's definitely normal. That's even worse. Just play it with instant. I used to play with that with the fast with range indicator, but it slows you way down. I only play with the instant ground targeting, which means you won't have a green circle indicating where you might land a skill before actually casting it and sending it off. It's especially very useful for a very overpowered trick I learned from Rezia, which is retargeting your supply crate. You can drop the elite somewhere visually behind the enemy and pretend you miss your crate completely, which will make the enemy think they don't have to dodge at all, unless they know about this trick already, of course. Then, last second, before the crate is about to hit the floor, you can reposition your mouse cursor over the target that you want to hit. Visually, the crate will not be where your cursor is anymore, but in actuality, your crate repositioned itself exactly there where your mouse was when it hit the ground. So if it was over the enemy, it will successfully stun them and do the rest of what the supply crate always does. So if it was over an enemy, it will successfully stun them and do rest. Extremely useful trick. So if it was over the enemy, it will. Oh my god! Never mind that part. Okay. So pick the instant targeting, please, for this trick. But your nades will be thrown faster as well. If you spam them like I do, like a machine gun. Same goes if you use mortar kit or spam mortar, by the way. Much faster skill spam with instant targeting. That's all I have to say about that subject. A small trick for something I do very often mid-fight is using my heal and then stealth with F4 toss Elixir S after. As soon as my lesser grenade barrage is over, usually to give myself some time, I dodge right after healing and then wait about half a second, and only then I stealth. The timing is usually perfect, and then you get yourself some super speed to help you reposition yourself in stealth, while also regenerating some extra HP. Though the dodge after healing before you stealth up isn't required at all, it's just helpful to make sure you don't just stand still, get CC'd, and eat a load of damage. But if you feel like you don't need to dodge, just don't, of course. I also do it in the other way around, where I stealth 1 or 3 seconds before my heal comes off. I also do it the other way around, where I stealth 1 or 3 seconds before my heal comes off cooldown again. Oh yeah. Then right before my stealth is about to run out, I use heal. To use the lesser grenade barrage to help me burst my opponent, while also getting every boon that comes with it. I like doing my F1 before healing as well for the extra protection duration and all the other buffs. So if you can focus on bursting your opponent, while if they try to hit you back during your burst, you at least will have some protection to reduce all that strike damage by 33%. A dumb little trick: if your F5 Gyro is ready and you are very low HP with one enemy down in a 1vx, wait till last second to F5 the downy right before you go down. This could be a lifesaver. I have successfully done this 2 or 3 times before, but eventually still died out of the way though. But still a good trick if you have the right setup for it. A super important tip for fighting underwater is to never ever fight underwater, ever, period. No matter what class you are against, you will always lose an equal 1v1 against anything. Only use the water to escape with the help of mostly rocket boots, but also stealth from F4 and super speed from your heal skill, F1, F3 skill. If you are not full HP and dive from land to water, I like doing my scrap your heal for some super speed and water field, and then rocket boots inside of that first water field. The rocket boots are a blast finisher and will heal you an extra 1k HP per blast. After that, you can do your F1 for super speed and another water field, and then blast that quickly again with your rocket boots for another 1k heal. It's very useful but not the most optimal for gaining as much distance as possible as fast as possible. If you are full HP anyways, because maybe you use your Elixir H before diving into the water, the first thing I do is rocket boots, F1 for some super speed. Right before the super speed is about to end, you do rocket boots again, then Elixir U. And as last resort, your scrapper heal has a very short 2-second super speed for some extra distance. But you might want to hold on to it, in case someone catches up to you underwater and manages to lower your health a bit. Once you've used all of those cooldowns and you're not OC yet, you want to be on land again as soon as possible. as your mobility will be better on land at that point than in the water. Use your Spear 2 and 5 skills and Elixir H, F1 and F3 again to create distance if you can't find the numbers to gain distance. But stick close to the waterline if you can, as long as it's away from the enemy and not towards them. When everything on land is on cooldown again, you can jump back in water, and you should have at least one rocket boots ready to be used for escape. And by the time you finish using your first rocket boots, the second rocket boots will come right back up to use. Mix it up with your super speed skills where they are gaps, then proceed to land again, rinse and repeat. If you can't shake them off, you might consider having to run to spawn or a tower or a keep. If you don't have swiftness underwater, when your super speed skills are on cooldown, you can use F5 gyro close to the ground and then rocket boots to blast the field for some swiftness. Just know that F5 gyro, the blast from it that you have on land, does not work underwater, as the trait does not identify the gyro as the same thing there. Kit swapping is a lot like attunement swapping on Elementalist, meaning if you cast a spear skill, you can instantly swap to Nade kit and it will not cancel your outgoing cast. Same goes for when you cast a Nade skill and a kit swap to your spear, it won't cancel it, you know, in both ways. 2 generic yet super useful tips I can give you guys. If you can't tell what's going on because too much is going on or around or near you, blah blah blah, there's one thing I always do. Unless I already ran out of endurance, I always dodge after stealthing. It's a muscle memory thing, but it's not a bad thing to do at all. And a healthy habit rather, at least in my personal opinion. You preemptively make sure that no skill will track and hit you right after you got into stealth, potentially avoiding a CC and or huge burst. Sometimes when I'm dueling a spear necro and I'm casting my F4 to stealth, the necro is throwing the spear 4 at me and it hits me a little bit after I stealthed already. Even though he can't see me, his spear 4 will already his spear 4 will port him to me and right on top of me, and he will CC me with spear 3 and then one shot me with spear 2 even though he can't see me. Preemptively dodging a split second after stealth is very important if you are not sure whether you should or shouldn't dodge. If you know for a fact you don't need to dodge, then you don't have to. But getting your explosive entrance refreshed is almost a must anyways for the extra damage and blinds when you re-engage your opponent coming out of stealth. The second generic tip is after stealthing, always rotate behind your enemy as if you were a DP thief and you want that extra damage for a backstab, right? No matter what skill you will use to engage out of stealth, if you are behind your enemy, they are less likely to notice any potential small visual effects that show up even in stealth. And also after that, once you're revealed, they will have to turn their whole camera around to see what you are doing next, which will shave off some of their time to react. This is less useful for super mechanically skilled players like Daze or Rectu that usually walk away from your last seen location and look back with their camera, as these people have extreme efficient camera control and you might not easily fool them. But generally, no matter what, even against the pros, I recommend always doing this, as it can give you some good opportunities for burst. Another useful tip in my book is I always chill the downstate enemies with my freeze nades. Why? Because downstate enemies cannot cleanse CONDIs that are on themselves. With some exception of course, but generally they cannot. Okay, so why chill them? They're already downed. Well, because once you chill them, the very second they are downed, instead of having to wait 1 or 2 seconds to wait for their first down skill, like a T-Von teleport, blah blah blah, and then 10 seconds for their second skill, like the AoE heal on Guardian, blah blah blah, and then a few more seconds for bandage, which is a self-rest skill by the way. All their cooldowns will now be something closer to 6-7 seconds for the first skill rather than like 2 or 3, right? 15 to 20 seconds for their second down skill rather than 10 seconds or less. And if their bandage self-res got interrupted, they need to wait even longer before they can self-res again with bandage. It's basically a cuck skill to basically not allow downies to do anything, and their sole way of getting up will be either if they rally from something else dying or if an ally fully heals them one of their allies, of course, heals them to full HP, which you can cleave them if they try, and then you also drop F5 Garrow, which will eventually also stomp them for you as you're cleaving. So yeah, without needing to do anything else. Now for some things that I might have mentioned already before, with the traits, the weapons, and the utility skills, here are some tricks, combos, tips, whatever the fuck. Something that took me a while to realize, if you mount up, you lose the explosive entrance buff. So if you want it back after dismounting, you need to make sure you dodge at least once afterwards to make use of it before engaging. Otherwise, you might not get much use out of the Daze. That flashbang gets you on targets above 90% HP. As you know, you will have already bursted them below 90% HP and the Daze won't go off. My engage is the same 90% of the time. I dismount, if I don't forget about it, I dodge once to get myself explosive entrance up. First thing I do then is charge up Spirit Tree for the immob soon and throw the F1 Toss Elixir H on myself for super speed and protection, so that I am faster at my target, and if he hits me at all, I'll take less damage. Ideally, if the pressure is low, I get myself close enough to my enemy to hit my F5 Gyro on top of myself and the enemy as well, which will hurt the enemy with Gyro and explosive entrance for 4k damage and Daze and blind them. While at the same time, I refresh protection, give myself stab, and then also swiftness for the blast finisher that happens on its own lightning field. Then I start my real attack. Inside the field, I use Spear 2 as a leap finisher towards my target, which will daze them again for 1 second and put focus on them. The next step here is predicting your opponent's next move. You just dazed and interrupted your enemy for the second time in a row with a daze. You are standing right on top of them thanks to Spear 2 right now. It's almost a guarantee that they will panic dodge after they realize that they are dazed. It's instinct. So what I sometimes do is wait on top of the enemy and just use my auto attacks to scare them a little extra while my Spear 3 is also rotating around me and also hitting them at the same time. This should make them panic dodge almost guaranteed. And if they don't, your immob should come right up and you can immob them before you proceed with the next skills. So what I do is immediately also use Spear 5 on top of both of us for a nice amount of AoE damage. Then use Spear 4 for a nice CC right into Spear 3 for the immob. This is assuming you haven't used Spear 3 yet. Really doesn't matter too much, but usually they panic dodge the first skill and then the second one hits them and locks them down. Anyways, once your enemy is totally locked down, you can do a free close-up grenade barrage on top of them too. After that, you can swap to grenade kit. If you need more damage to finish them off, you should already know the order of nades to use. You can use Elixir U's quickness, to make it even go faster, which I tend to do either way when I'm 1v1 thanks to my muscle memory, even when I don't actually mean to use it, sadly. Which means if someone comes after downing that one guy, I might be forced to use Elixir S to secure the stomp, which means I'm left without a stun break after the stomp. Very bad behavior that isn't grading me, sadly. If your opponent isn't as bad as your average Zergling, knows how to dodge, stun break, and has a good build with some sustain, then that won't kill them. But mid-fight, you should be able to consistently pull off a F5 Garrow into Spear 2 for a Daze. Then usually they panic dodge 90% of the time, even good players do. And right as they are dodging, you can charge up your Spear 4 cast, as it takes a whole second to cast anyways. You'll CC them right after their dodge, then immob them too. And you can do your burst as mentioned before. If you think they will have stun break ready to instantly stun break out of it, you can hold your immob and do another attack instead, or do nothing at all but move closer to them to scare them a little bit, making them think you will burst. Then immob them right after they use the stun break and dodge combo, as nearly everyone dodges immediately after stun breaking. Again, that's mostly muscle memory for everyone, I believe. For some tips I've already mentioned, before using Elixir S or Toss Elixir S for stealth, I like to give myself some super speed with Toss Elixir U, Toss Elixir H, or Elixir H, which helps a ton with repositioning and kiting. right before a burst is about to come my way. I can't dodge it in time. If my Spirit Tree Lightning Rod is ready, I like to use that and go right into Elixir S right before the enemy is about to burst me, which will make them waste precious burst skills and cooldowns. Meanwhile, I'm Invern walking right next to them. Spirit Tree will be hitting them for 400 to 600 crits each, up to 3 to 4,000 damage, all while Invern on one target. Assuming it all crits and hits from the start, of course. A tip I have for playing against CONDI builds is to remember that your heal will convert 2 CONDIs into boons and cleanse 1 other thanks to your traits. Especially useful against classes with a lot of immob spam, which will convert immob to resistance. I'm not 100% sure, but if you try to cleanse an immob another way, it might just cleanse any other CONDI. But since this one is a conversion and basically removes 3 CONDIs instead of just 1, the chances are bigger that you will get rid of that specific CONDI, allowing to dodge out and avoid getting CONDI bombed or bursted. This goes for going power balls too, of course. Here's a table showing which CONDIs gets converted to which boons in case you're interested. Useful information, but not super important. Link is in the description. Something very important to mention again about supply crates, because a lot of people don't know about this, even some Engie mains I know, is that supply crate only drops a smoke field if there is a target nearby and visible. And if you want to blast it, you need to blast after 3 to 4 seconds later, after a water field is gone. Or you can find a corner where the water field doesn't overlap the smoke field. Then proceed to use skills inside of it for stealth, mainly Spear 2, then detonate the crate turrets where the blast finisher is on yourself and not the turrets. And at the same time as the blast from the crate detonates, you can Spear 5 from inside the smoke field away from hitting any targets to not reveal yourself. Just know that when the flame turret is destroyed, you will have exactly 2 seconds before the smoke field dissipates and is completely gone. So if an enemy kills your turret by very fast and the water field is still on top, unlucky for you. Next, repeated tip is poison nades. They are unblockable too and are only offensive unblockable skill. If you're against someone with blocks in your build, just keep them for when they are going into a block skill. The poison will reduce any healing by 33% as long as it's there, and 9 stacks of poison can tick for a good amount of damage too. Even on power, it can tick for 800 damage or even more than 1k depending on how much might you have. Another tip I've already said is that besides stomping people freely with S Elixir, you can also combine both of these skills together to res an ally down state by using F5 Gyro on top of them and also Elixir S so you can't get CC'd or bursted while resing. The rest from you at the same time as Gyro goes extremely fast and have saved my friends so many times over and over in a 2vx, 3vx. You can also throw out a Toss Elixir S right on top of them after using Gyro. This stealths them if you're close enough, also you or allies trying to res. I have no clue if you can stealth the Gyro with Toss Elixir as well, but you can assume it maybe can. This helps to make sure your Gyro won't get targeted and destroyed, for example. But if someone already started stomping your friends, the stealth will save them. That's the most important bit. Just gotta hope they don't reveal themselves though. If you do stealth first and Gyro after, you will reveal yourself if an enemy is where you casted your Gyro. Keep that in mind. But if you need to be fast because they're about to get stomped, just do the stealth first anyways because it might save them. If you can stealth the Gyro itself too, then something I've never tried before is to cast F5 Gyro on a downed enemy and then stealth it with Elixir S. So they might not see it at all and they definitely won't be able to target it at the very least. But throwing your stealth away just for that might be a little too much of a sacrifice, honestly. Just throwing it out there. Remember, the build link is in the description. I think that's about it for everything I want to explain. I love this build a whole lot. I really do, guys. I see myself playing this build for many years and trying to make it even better than it already is. I've already made a few variants of this build and I've been able to make one that is as strong as this build but with 100% boon duration instead. I'll be making a guide in the next few months, maybe a year, because I'll be working now for that build and for a couple other builds that I've got ready. I just need to collect more clips to show it off to you guys first. Not that my first guide was bad, but I hope this one is better than my first guide in every single way possible. At this point, you know, how I imagine it to be, it should have been, but how I had to rush this whole thing now because of lack of time now. There is definitely going to be some lackluster points, and I think it's going to be way too long, but that was already expected. And I might do a lot less editing than I originally planned to do. I'm so very sorry for that for you guys. I hope it wasn't too boring to watch. But anyways, I got a new mic. I wrote an entire script for this worth 10,500 words, a total of 55,000 written characters. I tried to show as much footage as possible about the things I talk about. I didn't leave any stone unturned when it comes to how to play this build, why I picked these traits, and these traits specifically, and not the other ones. I explained literally every single thing I could think of. I'm telling you guys, I made this guide all on my own with my blood, sweat, and my heart in it, man. I made this build guide with love, so please support me if you can. Leave comment with your appreciation for this guide, or even tell me about your greatest worries going on in your life, if that's what you want to do. Let me know what's going on through your head, you know, in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you hated it, dislike. If you want to see more, maybe subscribe too. If you are interested in even more, I stream sometimes on twitch.tv/shygw2. You can follow me there and watch next time I am alive again. I am live again, sorry. The only thing if you guys that you guys won't get to see in the specific guide is how to beat every single matchup. I will be making one video for every matchup there is to teach you guys in detail, from how to rotate skills against each individual matchup to when and against whom you want to be and play as aggressive as possible while playing defensively against other matchups, or rather when to play defensively against them. I also got a few tips and tricks for every matchup on how to beat them more easily than usual and bring an advantage to your side with your specific kit. Trust me if I say this build can easily beat an experienced DP Thief player with the right knowledge. As long as I am at my peak, experienced Spear Untamed players are no match for me, and neither are Spear Necros, Guardians, and so many other matchups. If you are interested, I will upload 1 or 2 matchup videos, well, originally every month or so, right? But again, now this might be a lot longer before I am able to make these videos, but we'll see. If I plan well enough, maybe it's doable. And I'll upload these videos on Nade's website called The Guild. I've got a ton of footage to show you guys in there. If you aren't in there yet, a link is in the description to go there. Thanks again for listening to me in this entire guide. I hope it serves you well. Expect me to continue making a lot more montages and guides in the future, as I have a lot more to show you guys. If you see a character called Jolt Up, like this one, oops, like this one, Jolt Up here, or you know, you recognize this character look, though however I've lately been playing a lot more on my Azura, called Little Shite, feel free to just message me, whisper me, give me any feedback of what you thought of the guide. Always greatly appreciate it. So yeah, thanks again. I hope this guide served you guys well. I love hearing from all of you and how your experience has been so far. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video I post on this channel or on Twitch when I'm live. This was Shy, over and out. Peace.